I don't see it on chat. Okay, now I can see.
It is, yeah, but because I just put it there, I will also make sure that you can all talk. Attendees can chat with everybody. So complete freedom. Nothing is restricted. And for those people who are new here, maybe I'll remind that it all started with a little webinar, one-time webinar about Hugging Face. And then you guys wanted to continue, and I enjoyed it too, because I have an egoistic goal. I learn better if I teach. So we went through Hugging Face, and we talked about this wonderful, wonderful library called Hugging Face and how they made everything simple, everything that Google failed to do and Microsoft failed to do, and that's making AI available to everybody. Meanwhile, a new revolution came, something completely new that is not so new. It's already 2 weeks old at least, and I'm sharing the screen and I'm saying came up OpenAI. So just to explain that, let me share trends, Google Trends. Trends.google.com. And let us compare our Hugging Face, which is again a magic library that brings AI to the masses, basically going up. So it all made sense until ChatGPT appeared. ChatGPT. Now, once that appeared, its popularity shot up, as you can see, and it made Hugging Face completely in the dust. Not that Hugging Face became any worse, but the popularity of it is incomparably low. That's okay. I guess that popularity of anything will be incomparably low. So let's try to compare it to some of the movie stars. Now, I don't know much about movie stars, but I heard something about Beyonce. That's right, yeah, that's right. So, I don't know, she's probably trying to become more popular. Projection is just she going up. And right now, Chat AI is more popular than that. So let's take her out for now. But let's go back to ChatGPT and let's compare it to OpenAI, because we need to understand what's going on. Okay, it's popular, and at breakfast we share news now. The whole family is involved. OpenAI, but who is who? Okay, so that's reasonable. Now, as we know, Hugging Face is a company. Do they have a product? Well, their library, Hugging Face, is the product. Who is this product for?
Amy.
Okay, I'm sorry now that I allowed everybody to talk. Now we can hear everybody. So please keep your mics silent. And I would have to find it myself. Silence your mics. So better yet, oh, I also see lots of people may want to talk. That's great. Thank you for happening so. Okay, now everybody can talk, and that's nice. And I was saying that, first of all, you have to put things in perspective, who is who. So Hugging Face is a company, they don't have any specific product. They themselves are the product. And if you go to Hugging Face here, artificial intelligence company. Then you can log in, and if you log in, you see your personal workspace. But if you just look at what's publicly available, you see that they collect models. They allow you to log in and store your modified model here. As you can see, 133,000 models right now, and that grows about 10,000 of models per week. Every time that we get here, it's 10,000 more. So, okay, we understand it's a company. It has data sets, 21,000 different data sets. And it has other things, solutions, pricing, their market cap of $2 billion. They're not public yet. Now, we need all of that. It's not just idle chat. We understand that's a company. Now,
Can I ask a question here?
yes, please.
See, when you're talking about models and data set, what kind of models are we talking here?
Machine learning models.
Okay.
So let me, yes, but that's a good question. Let's look at this one. Let's see what it will tell about itself. First of all, it says that BERT-based uncased, you can search and find out that it is the model created by Google and even implemented in their search. So the search became smarter, and they advertised to everybody that, guys, you were adepts at using keywords. Don't do this anymore. Just say what you want to say, and we will answer. And that was true. So because they used this model, BERT. Now, what you can do in Hugging Face with this model is, other than read the description, you can try it right away. The goal of life is, let's see, possible answers: life, survival, love, freedom, simplicity. Maybe. Well, let's try the goal of war. And it says war, peace, death, survival, unity. Wow. Let's do something a bit more complex. Golem. How do we spell golem?
That was G-O-L-L-U-M.
UM, like this. Do 2 L's or 1 L?
I think it's 2 L's. If this is the same golem from.
Yeah, I mean this one. So I want to know where he lives in. Let's try that. It should be a smart model. It should be able to do it. Golem lives on the mountain, but I pretend that I don't know. Mask. And I think they have to be uppercase. So where does Golem live? Maybe I need to put a dot here. And that's an interesting thing. That shows you that we do depend upon primitive operations with AI. And we will see it in a few minutes with ChatGPT, the same thing. But in any case, lives on the tree, moon, rock, stars, sea. So it seems like the model doesn't know Hobbit too well, but it doesn't even mention the mountain. But it is grammar. It's a grammar model, and it knows things. So all of that is Hugging Face, collection of models with no specific model to feature. I was looking at this and I was thinking, that is an enormous amount of models, and how do I choose the best one? I don't think there is a way to choose the best one. Of course, we all know that there is a glue leaderboard. And the glue leaderboard here, you can submit your model, your machine learning model. Takes a little bit. And see who is on top now and what are the results. We all started with 60, about 60% here. And now we're at about 90 91% here, and we see who are the leaders. I'm not sure if ChatGPT is submitted here. In any case, that's a link that I'm offering for your information. And as we go, I'm putting those things on the webinar. That's what we do. So, putting it here. Copy, paste. Why doesn't paste? Okay, paste it now. So we know this is the place where the geeks collect, hang out, and compare their models. That's one way to see which model is the best. But here you don't have that model to try. So it's not like Hugging Face. If somebody puts that model on Hugging Face, then you will be able to try. But if somebody just publishes a paper, then your next best choice is try to implement that paper. Okay, that's what it used to be until OpenAI created the ChatGPT. And then there was an explosion of popularity with, I will mention a few most important facts. Not necessarily you know them. So what happened is this model became open available. Actually, there are not just one, but 4 different versions of this model called, I think, something like Da Vinci and other models, but they're just few. So they behave like Apple. We give you just 1 or 2 choices or 10 choices, not 130,000 choices, and that's their strategy. But beyond the fact that it can talk to you and it can remember what you said, and you in fact talking to the world's leading artificial intelligence. So beyond all of that, they integrated with Microsoft. That shows you how important that is. So its popularity going beyond Beyonce is one thing, but the fact that it killed $100 billion of Google, that's another thing. And here's what happened. Microsoft is the major investor into OpenAI. One of the people in OpenAI is Ilya Sutskever, and he was the chief, one of the best AI specialists at Google. And you could see his name on most important papers. So he is the chief scientist at OpenAI, and Microsoft is the chief investor. And altogether, Microsoft is offering integration between OpenChat or ChatGPT and their Bing, their search engine, to the extent that you see articles now in the major publications like New York Times that talks about, oh, search is outdated, but Microsoft makes it interesting again, and the much derided Microsoft search engine gives new life. That is the most amazing thing to see written. You can Google all of that. But that's not the point of our discussion, because you can find a lot of such discussion. For example, I chanced to see this Adrian Tworog. Tworog is a Russian name for cream cheese or farmer cheese, but, and I'm not going to watch it, but that's him. He published a crash GPT crash course. And if you look at him as this Adrian, you will see that he is a very popular figure with his courses. So he gets about 500,000 to 1 million views per course. They are consumer oriented. They are not for developers. And this one got 3 million. So you can look at it at your leisure whenever you wanted. That is the kind of popularity, and that's the kind of things people talk about. But Microsoft, when it integrated its own search engine with the OpenAI, with ChatGPT, it supposedly added something. So now your search simply said you are allowed a second question. With Google, it's a wonderful search engine, but you get only one shot. And then when you didn't get it exactly right, you're a little bit on your own to continue. You know that well. But here you're saying, oh no, you didn't quite give me the right answer. Here's what I want you to do. This is what ChatGPT does. Of course, this is also marketing. And you read articles like those that say that the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, played his card right. Yes, he played it right. So that is the marketing hullabaloo that's going around this. But we are developers, and I want to see what's going on in this. And by the way, let me check if any more developers came, and should I turn the mic for them? Okay, so you can all talk now. And if you cannot, just chat. I hope I will see that. And as developers, we want to see how to use it, because it seems like we can predict the future. We can say that now the future is in the hands of us, developers. And however you utilize this AI, you won't have to develop anything. You will use the models. Maybe you will fine-tune this model, maybe. But even out of the box, it can give you a lot of applications, and that's what people are going to work on. Microsoft did it. They put it into search, but you can put it to any application that you're working on. So for that, for exactly how you do it, I prepared the first demo. I don't know if you use it, but I can tell you that I do. That is a use of ChatGPT inside of Copilot, inside of this program assistant, which it comes to you from GitHub. And by the way, GitHub is owned by Microsoft, so it's not surprising. So inside of that is ChatGPT. In fact, the OpenAI gives you those 10 models, or about 10 models, and one of them is Codex, which is specially trained on billions line of code to be smart about programming. So I'll show you examples here, because I tried to create an example, but it offers different things at different times, as an AI usually does. So I'll just show the demo. This is what you do. You write in your code, it understands your code. It doesn't really matter what your code is in. Let's see, TS, shell, right? Do you know what the language is? But in any case, you can replay it. That's what you start with. You just start, and then you're saying the comment, and it writes the code. Well, that's amazing. I use it all the time, because you're not lonely anymore. This is your pair programmer, and it does things right. Now, you still need to be smart about what you're doing, but how you're doing, sometimes its answers are correct. So let's look at some other language. You choose the language. Which one do you want to see?
How about Haskell?
But I don't see Haskell.
Okay.
Well, here, I don't see it here. It exists. I almost sure that it exists. But for now, I offered you to do anything and didn't do it. And I was going to say Python. Let's do Python. So let's say you write. This time you write a lot. You write it with example. So it works as a prompt. You give it the prompt, and here you gave it the prompt, and it wrote the code. Let's replay it. That's what you write. So it wrote the code. Now, it works both ways. If you're very fluent in your language, you may still not remember, like I usually write in Java. I still would not remember how to correctly open the database and close it. And it does it for me. Or let's say I'm not fluent in Python at all, but I can read it. So I'm saying, now you write it. These are the examples of the actual use, actual application of ChatGPT or OpenAI. And the open goal of OpenAI is to make everybody in the world use it. So far, that example that I gave you by Andrew, again, you're telling it what to do, get the average runtime in seconds, and it gets all of the code that you need to write. And go. Okay, that's a demo that you could run yourself. I'm just saying that, yes, I'm using it. I don't want to open IntelliJ, but here, but it is there. And that is what we did. We talked about OpenAI in general, how we're changing our direction. Could very well be that we'll continue with OpenAI. And what happened in my personal life is I initially taught Hugging Face at Cisco, dropping names here, but you don't repeat it. And a couple times, and they believe that's a good library, and I can explain it. So they, when they saw another proposal about OpenAI, they said yes. Now it's whatever you say. It seems like. So by April, I'll be teaching OpenAI on the level of what we're doing here. On the level of, let's go through the tutorial. That's how you integrate OpenAI. It won't teach you how you invent use cases, but it will teach you how you, having a use case, how you will implement it. All right, good. So let's do that. Here's OpenAI. They give you a quick start, and I'm planning to go through that today with you. Usually I give you a virtual machine, and very powerful virtual machine, because you expect some training will happen and will take place. But in this quick start, you can run any Python. So I will be running some Python code. If you want to follow with me, you can simply run Python on your own. So let's see. I'll close that. I'll just open a terminal, because we expect that we will have to run some code or try some examples. And the reason I'm going through the tutorial is because I showed you a tutorial on Hugging Face, and I said it's a wonderful tutorial, but many people said it's still okay for us to go through that in a company, and you'll be the company and everybody else will be the company. So that's what I'm doing here to start. Of course, later on, as you will see, it will show you how to fine tune. Okay, and that will be a bit more complex. So here you will probably appreciate some help. But we start with an introduction, and I'll show you how they structured the introduction. So the general idea is pretty simple. You take an existing model that does miracles. Right now, my personal opinion is that these miracles are on the level of an average person in the world, meaning that if you ask it, how do I make a seafood dish? Give me 10 examples. It will answer. It's not on the level of a real smart individual, and that's a big question if it will ever be, because real smart individuals are rare. So if you try to train a very smart brain, then you're facing the same problem as we're facing in humanity. How do we know who is smart, who is not? Instead, you get a complete sea of garbage on the internet. And how do you detect that you have maybe 3 writers in this century? You know, it is James Joyce, Marcel Proust, and Samuel Beckett. These are the leading writers, but if you start searching, of course, you won't find it. So, philosophical argument that artificial intelligence cannot be smarter than the average human intelligence, and that's not too much. But practically, the average human does amazing thing. It drives a car, and it writes emails. So that's good enough for me. And that is exactly what ChatGPT allows you to do. So now I'm planning to go through this tutorial as far as we get. And then in the next sections and in the next meetings of ours, we will continue. We'll see how we get there. Now, at this point, I'd like to stop the share. And if there are any questions, please ask the questions. Maybe we'll pause for discussion a little bit. Okay, but if not, we'll just continue. Continue with the most exciting. Let's try it. Okay, so if you have not gone through that manual, let's do it. It starts by saying that it's an introduction, that we offer a spectrum of models. Now, spectrum of models are not that large. Let's open how many models and what are they. That's model number 1, model number 2, and model number 3. Now, model number 1, GPT-3, comes in a few flavors. Here they are: Ada, Babbage, Curie, and Da Vinci. And these models come with some limitations. Now, none of these models will work if you haven't logged in. To log in, you only need to create your account. You don't need a credit card, even though they have a plan to offer a monthly fee, special account, $20 a month. But right now they're just collecting early subscribers who are not paying us yet. So these are the models, and there is a limit to what you can do. I believe this limit is more limiting for general consumer population. If you want to start, and we'll go there later on, we'll start to just talk to ChatGPT, you'll very quickly see that it will say, okay, that's enough for today. So that's what they give you. Then the next step will be to fine-tune the model for your own customization. For example, you can teach it how to cook, and then it may be a bit better cook. And the interesting thing is that when we look for fine-tuning, that's also built in. In other words, I was saying that Hugging Face is very easy. It allows you to use the model and then to fine-tune it with your own data. Well, of course, OpenAI knows what other people do, and it competes, and it made it also a convenient place where you can build your models. So that's what they talk about. Now, first, they allow you a very quick tutorial. For that, we will actually go to this tutorial. So if you click there, then this is a quick start tutorial where you will see what is possible. Now, that is not for developers yet. This is for consumers, and they explain what the model can do. To get even a reasonable use out of that, it's good to know what it can do and think more or less how it can think. It is best at suggestions and at continuing your prompt. You say, tell me a story about this, this, and that, and then it will continue. So they are kind of teaching you how you talk to this AI. It is not general. Now, on the subject of general AI, that's called Artificial General Intelligence, AGI, I believe. No, not just a product. System would be general AI, strong AI, or AGI, artificial general intelligence, doesn't exist yet. Not even OpenAI claims to have it, and in fact, it says just the opposite. It claims not to have it. So you need to know the peculiarities of this AI engine, and here's one of them. Suggest one name for a horse. So here we're just following through the introduction, then we will get back here to the key concepts. So I will save the breadcrumb where we'll get back to, and I will go into quick tutorial, and I will go through this tutorial with you and we will discuss. So what it says is that it's good to continue one off. I think it's called one-time trial. There is a word for that, but that doesn't matter. We understand. So just a name for a horse. It thinks a little, and it says lightning. Now, if I change that, just a name for a mouse, Mimi, decent. But that I didn't tell it anything. It knows nothing about me. The only thing that it knows, I'm logged in. As you can see here, I'm logged in. And that is down below somewhere, there is a token. That's how they know who I am when I'm using their API. So that token later on, you will create yourself and you will use it in your code. That's how the code knows who you are. But in here, it's hidden somewhere in the cookie. Now it says, no, that was not good enough. Try to suggest a name for a black horse. So black horse, okay, let's do a black horse, midnight. How about the black mouse? Now it's thinking, other things it cached. That's why it was pretty fast. So a black mouse, did it react? Okay, we don't have a mouse to call anything anyway. By the way, that button wouldn't work if you just open it in a let's say incognito window, giving it the same place. All right, let's try. Doesn't work because it expects me to log in. That's why everything is so smooth, but if you're following me, you will have to log in. Then they teach us some more examples. We will go through that because if you have not done it, it's a must. You need to know what to expect. And then we will try to actually do it in code. So let's try so far. So just 3 names for a horse that is a superhero. It understands it. Great advantage of OpenAI is that it understands what you want to say. They were going to this starting from BERT and starting from Transformers. They were going this way, and now that they have achieved, the big practical use will happen when you guys invent your use cases. In other words, I always like to say that the basic ideas of all these models are you can make it self-study the web and get pretty good at English or any other language that you choose. And then you need to do fine-tuning. So out of the box, it won't know what you're interested in. And general artificial intelligence doesn't exist as yet. So it's good at doing this out of the box. Now I see a little dialogue on chat. Okay. Watch the replay. If you go anywhere, there will be replay, and we're perfecting the system where you can go to a specific replay. Right now, you can find all of the replays, but they're queued one after another. So a superhero horse, but that's teaching you that you can be more specific at what you want and give me 3. Now, at this point, you can try to go into the strange areas and see if it will block you. For example, suggest a good name for a prostitute. Okay, we know that you can confuse it, and people like to confuse AI. It's easy to confuse. Sometimes it will refuse too risky or too dangerous, but the prostitute, I think it will take, and you would suggest, you would say that's probably a good name. Okay. So let's continue. You can give it a context. You can say, what I really like are these names. For example, my cat is maybe called Captain Sharpclaw. My dog is called Ruff, the protector. What should I call my horse? Let's try that. And by the way, they're teaching you exactly how to talk to the AI. Okay, let's try that. Well, it analyzed what I told it, and it definitely says that I am into grandiose names. That's why Captain Sharpclaw, Dog Rafter Protector, gave birth to Super Stallion Mighty Mare. But if I change that, what if my cats are, if you remember, Don Quixote had a horse called Rocinante. Now, Rocin is a horse. Rocinante, a word doesn't quite exist. It means an enormously great horse. His horse was very weak and undernourished. So if we do something like this, if we say cat weakling, correct? Well, I don't have enough imagination, so I also don't know grammar, should be like that. And now I want to give it that same name for cat and dog. And that's because I want to see if it really learns from me. If it really takes that, what I tell it into account. Let's see. No, I don't think it learned. So we chanced on some not so great users of AI, but all of that, you don't need me for that. All of that is described in Adrian Twarog, where he plays with AI on the consumer level. Very soon we'll come to the programmer's interface to that. But before we do, we need to know a few more things. That thing always answers the same thing. If I run it again and again, so it's very predictable. But they invented a parameter. It's called temperature. So a person who is in heat is more unpredictable. So there is a temperature parameter that you can change. You can move it around. And now it will be giving you always the same answer at temperature 0. Let's try that. Yes. And it will be giving you more unpredictable answers at temperature 1. You see? Mighty Steed, Marvelous Mane, Mighty Mustang. Let's do it again. Scarlet Steed, Mighty Equine, Brave Manly. Let's do one more. Yes, indeed, it's different every time. They explain that because later on you will have to change that parameter and maybe some other parameters, and they go into details here. Now they say, okay, now build your application. Well, let's see what they offer. First of all, they offer a choice of Node.js and Python. I'll choose Python, being a bit more familiar with that. and that even is that not too much. And first of all, they say, okay, so clone our repository. I actually fork the repository, meaning that I don't clone it out of the box, but I copy it to my own, because then if I make any notes, I can commit them, and here I won't be able to do anything. I'll tell you exactly what I do. I look at their repository on the web. Let's do that. Copy pasted this. Okay, that's their repository. OpenAI owns OpenAI Quick Start Python. Now I have my fork of that. Let's see where it is on the elephant scale, and that it says is already there. So I probably, if I go to OpenAI Quick Start Python, I probably find it. So what I do is then go to the repository, but now under my account, that's the elephant scale, and search for that one. And it is here. So that's the one that I will clone. In your follow up with this, if you follow me, then you will have a choice. You can create your own copy. And as you can see, it's not thousands, not yet. Obviously, it's more of a consumer introduction. Consumers don't clone repositories, but developers would. So you look at the number of forks, for example, for, let's say, GitHub, for example, TensorFlow, which was very popular and still very popular. So it is a good example of how their popularity shot up and how many forks they got. Let's find, that's TensorFlow. So let's go to the major repository, and you will see about 100,000 forks. That's for developers, and that's the big number. So here we see a pretty low number. That you really need to know those things to get through the hype. And to be a productive developer with OpenAI, that's why I'm looking at those things. By the way, it is a pretty old repository, because it was probably for example. In any case, that is exactly the repository that we are going to clone. So what you need to do is click on here and then go to the command line. Okay. In the command line, I'll go to the usual place where I store my repositories. Okay, and I say git clone. So it says already exists because I already did it when I prepared, but let me remove it for now. Remove OpenAI Python, just to show you what would really happen. So you're saying git clone the repository. I got the repository. The next step that they want me to do is, of course, go into this repository, OpenAI. So that's what I will see in this repository. And I will make it a little bit bigger so that you can see the screen. Let's continue with the tutorial. Now we are really at the juicy part of doing some coding. Now it says, add your API key. Let's see what it says. We first went into this repository, and now in Python, you create your own environment, and they have an example environment, and they offer you to clone into this one. Okay, let's do this. And then let us look at what it does. So let us look at .env. Because we want to understand what we're doing. So that says the Flask, that's a way to build a web application, simple web application, Python. And it says necessary things for the Flask to know, but then it gives you the OpenAI key. Well, that OpenAI key you can get if you are logged in. If you're logged in, you can click on create my key. I actually created it, as you can see, fairly recently, and it shows here. It will not show it to you, and I am being a careful dude, will not show that to you. But it's good enough to know that I saved it in Bash profile here. So if I run that, nothing changes because I already have that environment in my profile. So I'll get out of here. Okay, I know what the environment is, and I can follow the example. So I did add my key, but not by getting it out of here. Previously, I put it into my Bash profile, and now they're saying run the app. Let us see what you do to run the app. You create your own virtual environment in Python. That is something that Python is specific about. You can create as many virtual environments as you want, and they don't want to upset your Python work. So they first of all create a virtual environment called venv. Then they activate this. Then they do the pip install. You usually collect all the requirements that you have in the requirements.txt. So let's look at this requirements.txt. Let's look at that. And it is here. And it has quite a lot of environments. That's nice about Python, that it allows you to collect all of this in a separate place. And when you run this, it will use these and actually install what you need. So let's see. Let's do this one line at a time so we understand what it does. Now, it's because we're developers. So we're creating our environment, Python virtual environment. And then we are saying now source this environment, activate that. So we activate this environment and it appears here. It now knows that I'm in the virtual environment of Python. Now I will install all of these requirements, and that will probably take a minute or two. Actually faster for me because I did it yesterday and I verified it on this computer as well. That's why it's fast. For you, it may be a bit slower, but you can go through that. And final command is flask run. Let's first of all assure that it will run. Use flask run. And then let's talk a little bit about what we did. So we said flask run, which opened a web server. Web server is not recommended for production. I don't think you run it like that in production, but perfect for our experiments and for development. And it says if you go to localhost 5000, you should see your application. So indeed, I see the application. Very nice. Keep in mind the tutorial will continue, and we will continue with the tutorial. But first, let's use the app, and supposedly it will work. So N10 animal. As you can see, I tried quite a few things, and they all worked. And the model didn't deny me questionable things. I suspect that if I go into politics or if, so let's try that. Let's do the president, the former president. Okay, and actually unblocked it. One of the articles that I read that my wife sent me was that try to make ChatGPT compose a ode, that's song of Thanksgiving or praise poem. So it would praise current president, and I'm almost like don't live in this world. I don't remember who the president is, but Donald Trump will refuse to even eulogize or praise. So these all worked, and we can try something less problematic about a snake. Slither, Snake Man, Mighty Ophidian, the Cobra Crusader. Okay, the application works. Now let's go back to our tutorial and let them help us understand. They're saying this is what really is working. Add pi. So in order to see that, I don't want to rely on them. I want to really see if that works. So let us open another copy of this same, and let's go into projects, and that's OpenAI. Oh, and the ES, OpenAI, and this is where you can see app. So that really is the real code that I'm running, as opposed to this, where it's part of the manual, and who knows if that really is running. But let's look. They're saying that at the bottom you'll see the function which generates the prompt. In other words, when you open the page, that is what works. It's generate a prompt and show it to the user. So let's find that in the code. Generate a prompt, that really is the code here. That's what we return, and it is probably all displayed. Great, so that's what works because this generate prompt was called from somewhere, from here, right? That's prompt, and then return this prompt. In other words, here we see the structure of the application, Flask. It maps. If you come to do your website at /, then for both get and post, you can call this function. And that is what maps your URL to the function. And then it says if it is post, do this, but if it is a get, do this. And what is this? That generate the prompt. Okay, so more or less we understand what the code is, but we're lucky that they created good code that really worked. And let's go for just a little bit more here. We understand, okay, even if I don't know Flask, I begin to understand how that works. But the important thing, of course, is that it's a library, it's a Python library that calls into OpenAI interface. So I wonder, where is this call into OpenAI interface? It's here. Because I open AI, I import OpenAI. That's the machine learning library, and Flask is the Flask library. So it will be able to say, OpenAI, do the completion call. That is what AI does. It calls into OpenAI library, it uses the completion package, and in there it says create. Now, we see that it uses this model. We saw that. We saw there is DaVinci model and 3 more models. You can change it right here for your experiment. Then you can, well, maybe modify the animal or what do you want to generate your prompt on. And finally, you tell it the temperature, because as we saw, at 0, it will be always the same. At 1, it will be the most unpredictable that it can get. So that's what you can really change in the code and play some more. And that's, I think, is a good introduction. Okay, and we managed to do it in an hour. So great, because last time we did in 45 minutes, probably was running out of new and exciting things, but here it is a new and exciting thing again. Talking about the limitations that you have on this model, and also, okay, what will be the price? Probably right now it's free. Yes. No, it is free credit. So they're preparing to charge for that, but right now it's still free. But the most important is this line. So what's next? What's next is that the complete go through the library examples, the playground. What's important to me is that if you read the completion guide, it will immediately direct you to fine tuning. That will be how you do it in real, how you do it so that you add your data and now you get something that's more applicable. All right, great. So I think it was an interesting journey, and there will be a replay. There will be an email to you. You can ask any questions now, or just wait for the next section. Meanwhile, I will allow everybody to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. I really enjoy it.
Thanks a lot. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you'll bring some interesting use cases for next time.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Thank you, guys. Be well.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Good luck in what you do.
Mark,
Mhm.
we'll be contacting you offline, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Okay, you have my email, right?
Sure, of course.
Okay, wonderful.
We have been kind of attending some of the colloquium and seminars.
Okay.
I was also giving some colloquium in your system.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll chat.
Sure, absolutely.
Mhm. Thank you.
I'm
Yes?
teaching an AI course at UH, artificial
Oh,
intelligence, and
cool. We never meet though, did we?
yes, not these days. I believe long time back. I believe right now I'm teaching a course on AI for engineers. It's on talking
Wow.
about deep learning and all kind of good stuff.
We have lots to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking of restoring the Houston meetup, because we do meetup. We advertise, like this one is advertised in all the meetups. We have about 3 or 4, but that will be in person. So maybe April, May.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Sure.
Be well. Okay, goodbye, everybody.